Most anyone would agree that housing for pets in most animal shelters isn't great. Cold, hard stainless steel cages for cats and concrete chain link kennels for dogs. And making them nicer usually seems cost prohibitive. But it doesn't have to be. Hi, this is Mike Fry from No Kill Learning, and today we're going to talk about making your shelter the cat's meow on a minimal budget. I always like to start talking about shelter design or improvements with the following statement. What you hold in your mind is what you create. And I know that can sound kind of new agey, but I really don't mean it in a cosmic woo-woo, booga-booga, secret kind of way. I mean it at a very down-to-earth level in very real, concrete ways. What you believe about animal shelters will show up in the way you design or improve them. If you believe, for example, that animal shelters are stressful and difficult places for animals to be, you're likely to design a shelter that fits that belief. On the other hand, if you think animal shelters are temporary sanctuaries for animals in need, where they can heal mentally and physically from the challenges that they've faced before, you'll design something entirely different. With that in mind, and with that being said, I have to start by giving credit to Richard Avanzino, who began a whole new way of thinking about animal shelters back in the 1990s when he built the Maddie's Adoption Center at the San Francisco SPCA. Avanzino charged the architects designing the place to rethink everything. He wanted a facility that didn't smell, that was elegant and homelike, and that was comfortable for people and pets. The result was a spectacular multi-levels facility that was unlike anything that had ever been built before. In the late 1990s, I hopped a plane with my family and some friends to see it firsthand. As inspiring as it was, I felt a little depressed on the flight home. I mean, the place was beautiful. I mean, really, really beautiful. But Avanzino had spent something like $800 bazillion to build it. I mean, okay, obviously, he didn't actually spend $800 bazillion. But from my perspective, he may as well have. However much money he spent, I sure didn't have it, and I had no reasonable way of generating it either. I had just started working at a small rural shelter in a town of only about 15,000 people, located about 35 miles outside any major urban area. The shelter had an annual budget of less than $300,000, and the building was in extreme disrepair, and worse yet, there was no spare money in the bank. In spite of all of those challenges, we decided to rethink everything because we wanted the shelter to be the best that it could be for every pet that came in, and we were able to go from this to this. I mean, honestly, the photo on the left was the old original front entry. It was a cramped office with old gray metal desks. It was used for both intake and adoptions, and it provided the only office space for multiple staff. The photo on the right is the same space after our renovations were complete. The space was dramatically expanded and designed with the luxury bed and breakfast in mind, including hand-blown Italian glass pendulum lights. It also featured 4 socialization rooms, each with their own private fenced yards, fireplaces, and wall-mounted flat-screen television sets. The old cat areas used to be traditional stainless steel cages, which were hard to clean, cold, and noisy. We replaced those with 2 large colony rooms with several roomy, comfortable cat apartments, like the photo on the right. We enlarged the dog kennels eliminated the concrete floors and replaced them with soft, slip-proof and sound-absorbent flooring while adding visual barriers to give the dogs more privacy but enough space so that they could easily be housed with their doggy best friends. We rethought and enriched every inch of the shelter with comfort for people and pets in mind. Here you can see the inside of one of the socialization rooms, some of the cat apartments, and the new comfy dog kennels. In making this transition, we found that we needed to rethink everything from housing, cleaning, veterinary care, nutrition, socialization, play, exercise, and training, and we fully embraced the idea that this new kind of enrichment that we were designing for was for all species, including human visitors who came. So, for example, people could see domestic rabbits living in free-roaming bunny apartments that included decorative and educational art on the walls. By doing this, everyone who passed by the rabbit area quickly learned that bunnies don't need to live in cages. They make wonderful house pets that are easily potty trained. With the new adoption center, we didn't have to even bother explaining that to people because people saw it and experienced firsthand with their own eyes. And that changed a lot of people's ideas and attitudes about rabbits as pets. And speaking of education through art, we featured a lot of it, including this beautiful group of original oil paintings of 6 of the Michael Vick rescue dogs. Our goal was to display things that had meaning and that helped us tell important stories. And yes, it's true, our socialization rooms included flat-screen TVs with full access to YouTube, Netflix, and a library of educational pet-related videos. When I first proposed putting the fireplaces and TV sets in, people thought I was crazy. But trust me, if you want people to spend time with your shelter animals, the number one thing you can do is to give them a nice, comfortable place for them to hang out with shelter pets. So if someone wanted to hang out and watch Hotel for Dogs, I was thrilled, so long as they had a dog or cat or 2 on their laps while they were watching. With a little creativity, we didn't have to spend all that much money. The cat condos or apartments that we built were so luxurious that people often asked, "When can I move in?" And the apartments technically cost significantly less than traditional cat cages. Metal plaques hung by each door held magnetic picture holders so that we could put photos, names, and descriptions of all the cats in each apartment at the front door. Not only were the cat apartments inexpensive to build, they saved us money on cleaning, veterinary care, which I'll explain more about in a minute, but they also did an important thing by increasing adoptions because people could go in and hang out with the cats in total comfort and really get to see each cat's unique personality. These cat apartments, by the way, work so much better than either cat cages or the large colony rooms for many reasons. Most importantly, each room contains a manageable number of cats, and because people can be visiting cats in every one of the rooms, they actually help to accommodate more people more comfortably. And the cats stayed healthier. Pop quiz. What's the best disinfectant against feline disease? Answer: a healthy feline immune system. And that's one of the reasons traditional shelter design gets so much wrong. Think about the traditional approach to cat housing. It often looks like some variation on this theme: banks of stainless steel cages. The thinking behind this approach is that the cages are easy to disinfect, but in reality they're not. Dust, dirt, and disease easily gets lodged into the cage hinges, the doors hinges, and the latches. Plus, people move from cage to cage handling cats, so any disease that gets in gets spread around in a flash. On top of that, the cats in these cages are stressed, and stress weakens the immune system so that stress-related illnesses like upper respiratory and ringworm can spread unchecked. Plus, the cats are forced to sit right next to litter boxes and water dishes, which combined together create perfect breeding grounds for bacteria. These stainless steel cages are incubators for disease. The cages also separate the human and cat areas and actually take up a ton of space if you include the areas for people who need to stand in front of them and open the doors and try to interact with the cats. They also suppress adoptions. We began our cat area renovations by building the first 3 cat apartments in a space that used to be lined with stainless steel cages. The results were so spectacular that we very quickly went ahead and built 14 more cat apartments in areas that used to be the 2 large colony rooms. As funding for the renovation kept coming in, we just continued building more apartments. This is one of the old colony rooms being framed out to make 7 cat apartments. We covered all of the costs by selling sponsorships to each of the apartments and to the different wings in the cat center. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but here is one of the larger apartments nearing completion. And here are some after they were finished. Each apartment has its own air source and return, custom cat furniture, ceramic tile, trap lighting, classical music, art, valances, and all other amenities. The largest apartments measured 7 feet by 14 feet. Once the apartments were finished, cat adoptions increased dramatically while decreasing diseases like ringworm and upper respiratory, and it became easier to accommodate behavior-challenged cats. Once we finished the cat apartments, we went on to apply the same ideas of enrichment to all areas of the shelter, including the adoption floor. Note, this is one of the socialization rooms decorated for the holidays. Quarantine, isolation, and by the way, if you don't know the difference between the 2 of those, drop a note in the comments and I'll tell you about it. And enrichment varies significantly based on an animal's health status. In the dog kennels, we eliminated all visual sight lines from one kennel into others and made them really large, the largest measuring 12 feet by 12 feet. We let dogs, who are naturally social creatures, live with their canine best buddies whenever possible, and we replaced the concrete with soft, comfortable, non-slip flooring, and we made sure all dogs got out on a regular schedule for potty breaks every day. I have to say a special note about flooring. I hate concrete and epoxy. In fact, I hate any cold, hard, slippery surface. Dogs do too, so just say no to concrete floors and ask me about Protect-All flooring. It's warm, non-slip, impervious to everything, indestructible, and it absorbs sound. Inside each kennel, the dogs got raised beds, blankets, toys, treats, and we piped in classical music. Even if you have very nice kennels, I say get your dogs outside with nice outdoor play areas so that they can run and play off-leash for extended periods of time. Because, as the saying goes, a tired dog is a well-behaved dog. With good outdoor space, doggy playgroups can happen. This sort of daily activity is not only therapeutic for dogs, it also helps to more accurately identify behavior challenges in many ways that help shelters correct them, thereby making the dogs better candidates for adoption. We expanded our dog walking program to also include obedience training, agility training, playgroups, and even biking with specially designed bikes for very active high-drive dogs. And note that if you're interested in setting up a biking program, be sure to check out my video on biking with shelter dogs. Here are some pictures of doing obedience and agility in one of our outdoor play yards. We also worked with T-Touch and canine massage instructors so that they and their students could provide in-shelter pampering. We worked to integrate animals to all spaces in the shelter. As to the big question, how did we do it? The answer's pretty simple. We sold sponsorships to everything. People stepped up to sponsor each apartment or kennel and each wing of the building. We also planted gardens with peace poles and trees, and we let people sponsor those by putting plaques with their names on them. And we let people buy custom printed ceramic tiles as memorials or honorariums for people or pets that were important to them. And we started small. We started with those first 3 cat apartments and gradually spread it through every area of the shelter. And the rest, as they say, is history. Enrichment is about making the shelter the best it can be in every possible way. It's more fun for the animals, the staff, the volunteers, and clients. So don't hesitate. Get started today. If you want some help, my contact information is at the link.